Verses 36 to 41. He cautions them against all violent and tumultuous proceedings, which their religion did not need, nor could receive any real advantage from. v. 36. You ought to be quiet, and to do nothing rashly. A very good rule this is to be observed at all times, both in private and public affairs, not to be hasty and precipitate in our motions, but to deliberate and take time to consider, not to put ourselves or others into a heat, but to be calm and composed, and always keep reason in the throne and passion under check. This word should be ready to us, to command the peace with. When we ourselves or those about us are growing disorderly, we ought to be quiet, and to do nothing rashly, to do nothing in haste, which we may repent of at leisure. He wipes off the odium that had been cast upon Paul and his associates, and tells them, they were not the men that they were represented to them to be. v. 37. You have brought hither these men, and are ready to pull them to pieces, but have you considered what is their transgression and what is their offense? What can you prove upon them? They are not robbers of churches, you cannot charge them with sacrilege, or the taking away of any dedicated thing. They have offered no violence to Diana's temple or the treasures of it, nor are they blasphemers of your goddess. They have not given any opprobrious language to the worshippers of Diana, nor spoken scurrilously of her or her temple. Why should you prosecute those with all this violence who, though they are not of your mind, yet do not inveigh with any bitterness against you? Since they are calm, why should you be hot? It was the idol in the heart that they leveled all their force against. By reason and argument, if they can but get that down, the idol in the temple will fall of course. Those that preach against idolatrous churches have truth on their side, and ought vigorously to maintain it and press it on men's consciences, but let them not be robbers of those churches, on the prey laid they not their hand. Est 9:15, 16, nor blasphemers of those worships, with meekness instructing, not with passion and foul language reproaching, those that oppose themselves, for God's truth, as it needs not man's lie, so it needs not man's intemperate heat. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. He turns them over to the regular methods of the law, which ought always to supersede popular tumults, and in civilized well-governed nations will do so. A great mercy it is to live in a country where provision is made for the keeping of the peace, and the administration of public justice, and the appointing of a remedy for every wrong, and herein we of this nation are as happy as any people. If the complaint be of a private injury, let them have recourse to the judges and courts of justice, which are kept publicly at stated times. If Demetrius and the company of the silversmiths, that have made all this rout, find themselves aggrieved, or any privilege they are legally entitled to infringed or entrenched upon, let them bring their action, take out a process, and the matter shall be fairly tried, and justice done. The law is open, and there are deputies, there is a proconsul and his delegate, whose business it is to hear both sides, and to determine according to equity, and in their determination all parties must acquiesce, and not be their own judges, nor appeal to the people. Note, the law is good if a man use it lawfully, as the last remedy both for the discovery of a right disputed and the recovery of a right denied. If the complaint be of a public grievance, relating to the Constitution, it must be redressed, not by a confused rabble, but by a convention of the states. v. 39. If you inquire anything concerning other matters, that are of common concern, it shall be determined in a lawful assembly of the aldermen and common council, called together in a regular way by those in authority. Note, private persons should not intermeddle in public matters, so as to anticipate the counsels of those whose business it is to take cognizance of them. We have enough to do to mind our own business. He makes them sensible of the danger they are in, and of the premunire they have run themselves into by this riot. v. 40. It is well if we be not called in question for this day's uproar, if we be not complained of at the emperor's court, as a factious and seditious city, and if a quo warranto be not brought against us and our charter taken away, for there is no cause whereby we may give an account of this concourse, we have nothing to say in excuse of it. We cannot justify ourselves in breaking the peace by saying that others broke it first, and we only acted defensively. We have no color for any such plea, and therefore let the matter go no further, for it has gone too far already. Note, Most people stand in awe of men's judgment more than of the judgment of God. How well were it if we would thus still the tumult of our disorderly appetites and passions, and check the violence of them, with the consideration of the account we must shortly give to the Judge of heaven and earth for all these disorders. We are in danger to be called in question for this day's uproar in our hearts, in our houses, and how shall we answer it, there being no cause, no just cause, or no proportionable one, whereby we may give an account of this concourse, and of this heat and violence? As we must repress the inordinacy of our appetites, so also of our passions, with this, that for all these things God will bring us unto judgment, Eshcol 11:9, and we are concerned to manage ourselves as those that must give account. When he has thus shown them the absurdity of their riotous meeting, and the bad consequences that might follow from it, he advises them to separate with all speed. v. 41. He dismissed the assembly, ordered the crier perhaps to give notice that all manner of persons should peaceably depart and go about their own business, and they did so. See here how the overruling providence of God preserves the public peace, by an unaccountable power over the spirits of men. Thus the world is kept in some order, and men are restrained from being as the fishes of the sea, where the greater devour the less. Considering what an impetuous furious thing, what an ungovernable untamable wild beast the mob is, when it is up, we shall see reason to acknowledge God's goodness that we are not always under the tyranny of it. He stills the noise of the sea, noise of her waves, and, which is no less an instance of his almighty power, the tumult of the people. See how many ways God has of protecting his people. Perhaps this town clerk was no friend at all to Paul, nor to the gospel he preached, yet his human prudence is made to serve the divine purpose. Many are the troubles of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth them out of them all.